You know, the only thing that was bad or unsatisfying about episode 13 of Heavenly Delusion was the moment that Maru stopped punching, because that was one satisfying, grin-to-your-face beatdown that I've seen in a hot minute. This scumbag deserved all that and more, and I think Maru's final lines towards that entire subject being like, if I ever see that bastard again, I'm going to kill him. I believe it. Had he not been stopped, had Kiriko not come in and said, just stop, don't do any more, Robin would be dead. I don't think he was going to stop until he was absolutely dead. And to see such a pathetic weasel run and until he was cornered back against a wall, acting like he had nothing to be scared from. It wasn't even like a normal beatdown where like he felt angry. Instead, Maru was so dead inside that he had no facial reactions up until Kiro came and he actually finally responded to all those emotions. He felt like Jason Friday the 13th. He was walking slowly, calmly. He didn't even have a weapon. Every time this fool tried to run, he grabbed him and threw his ass right back. It was satisfying as hell seeing a weasel like Robin just get that beatdown he deserved, but he definitely deserves so much more. Now, full live reaction to this final episode of Heavenly Delusion is available on the Patreon if you do want to see my full uncut thoughts as I watch this. Satisfying, thought-provoking, and damn does it have me craving more episode. It's over there if you're interested. Now, this was intense. I mean, last week was arguably the most intense moment. Not to say that subject matter hadn't been seen before in Heavenly Delusion. Literally, if we rewind 3 or 4 episodes back with the breeding pig storyline, it's the exact same subject matter, except it was a group of guys basically being forced to impregnate a bunch of women so that they would have these babies and they were slaves. Exact same subject matter, but directing-wise, absolutely, they showed a lot more last week, which makes it extra disturbing, especially given that we've had such a connection to these characters. Though it was interesting seeing people write off last week, even though they've got to that point after already seeing the same subject matter. It's interesting how people can decide to quote-unquote cancel a show even though literally, they've already watched that same subject matter, but I digress. What I think was probably my favorite moment next to the beatdown is a very simple moment. I think everyone's probably agreed up to this point that back at the hospital where we had the mind-altering demon that was making us see our own deaths, we pretty much all thought that, okay, these two kids, very much are probably the doctor and the horrified body-altering girl that she just wanted to see the sky up above. To see that moment where basically after falling down the cliff, after seemingly escaping, she ends up ripping the button off and then handing it to him after he more or less confesses his love. And to go back, and I think it's episode 7 or in that area, and to see that after he shoots himself, right? The fact that he's holding on to that same button as he's holding her in his arms. That moment and just the parallel, the foreshadowing, it's just so heartbreaking, if not satisfying, to see these different perspectives come full circle. But the most interesting thing about the entire facility seemingly crumbling is the fact that after the credits are done playing, we see 4 of them, or at least 4 of them, on a boat, and it looks like in the distance there's normal looking buildings, and then they show you the wide shot of just a normal, unfallen society that looks as modern as our current day-to-day life. There is so much left to explore with this world, the uncertainty of what caused it to fall, where do we go next, and honestly, your mind can continue to race as much as you like, but you're never going to completely understand it until I think this author finishes the manga, because there's so much left to explore. Now, this was a complex episode. At the end of the day, it boils down to Maru beating the living shit out of the scumbag and anyone who got in his way. But most importantly, the identity crisis that someone like Kiriko has, because not only do you have your memories and your feelings and your belief from when you were you back before all this weird shit happened, you also have the identity seemingly of your sister there and the complex feeling of who you are. You're pretty much stuck between 3 identities, all things considered. Am I my sister, which seemingly he would love? Am I myself, or am I something brand new? And I think that's why the conversation when Kiriko gets to just finally let it all out, feel safe and guarded, is that Maru is just saying, maybe I would have been friends with your sister, maybe I would have been friends with you, but at the end of the day, I'm in love with you. You are you as it stands, and I think that's what makes it such a beautiful moment after such a heartbreaking moment. I mean, the imagery, the spider's web, the complex feelings, just so much is there. And while I completely understand, because usually in these moments, people who have been abused or tormented by an abuser like Robin, they can't deep down inside, there's still those feelings very, very deep that, like, I still don't want to see that scumbag die, even though everyone else is like, why not, right? It's just, that's how it is. But the fact that we see the torn up picture does say it all that Kiro did move on, 100% moved on, though you have to wonder, what in the actual hell was Robin doing? Because that door he was trying to get in, that wasn't him trying to get in to basically hide behind a door. He was seemingly trying to unleash that humanoid monster hybrid probably on our boy, and had he not fumbled the keys because he was a scared little bitch, he probably would have attacked him. And I mean, I think Maru probably still could have done something, but it wouldn't have probably ended with the satisfying beatdown that we got. Now, what was very interesting about the whole facility section, which we got to see, is I thought Grandma for sure was dead at this point, but Grandma still got some energy left in the tank. That crusty old bitch was continuing through and through. And the idea of giving the baby, one of the babies that is, trying to figure out the right one to give Tokyo, and the idea of just being like, hey, this is a thing that came out of you, it's your kid, just trying to give the sex ed talk, the birds and the bees all in one. Like, these poor kids, man, that's all I can say. But the fact that when someone starts trying to take that loving embrace away from you, that defense mechanism, it almost felt like blood that became almost like vines or roots that not only went around the baby, which has to be Maru, but Tokyo and the grandma itself as it just went to this big explosion. It was not what I was expecting, and I think what's really interesting and fun to think about is the fact that when a handful of these characters are exploring the forest, the outside of the outside, they're shocked by the littlest things, like why did they make it so hot? Like why are they making the temperature so ridiculous? Or why are these giant bugs? Because for them, the outside is controlled. Like the heat, the temperature is perfectly captured to be the right temperature. There's not these pesky things flying around, but now they're actually experiencing what the world should be like. So that scene of them looking at all the buildings kind of does say a lot about just how bullshit their life was up to that point, and just, man, I would love to see another 12 episodes just focusing on these characters and what the hell they found after that boat ride, not to mention another 12 episodes of just the Kiro and Maru storyline of what we experienced. I mean, from the beginning of this show, I said since episode 1 that this would be probably a lot of people's anime of the season, one of the strongest anime of the year, and arguably one of the freshest shows that we could watch this year, and I stand by, like, all of that. This was an insane anime season. There's 3 or 4 shows that I would pick that I enjoyed almost the same quality-wise, but it doesn't change the fact that there was something special about Heavenly Delusion, and even though I know there isn't enough manga as it stands for an immediate season 2, I am crossing my fingers that eventually we will see one, especially given how much Production IG hyped this show up prior to it releasing, saying it was going to be one of their best produced shows. It just felt like they cared about the source material, and to me that does say that they would probably like to do more if they can. But if we get a year in and I hear no buzz, yeah, I probably will have to read the manga, because this is a world and story I am very interested in seeing more of, and it has been an absolute pleasure to talk about this one week after week. So let me know what you thought down below. How did you feel about that beatdown? Whatever you're feeling, let me know down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course ring that bell so you can get notified when I upload more videos on the channel. And as I mentioned, we do have a full live reaction to episode 13 available on the Patreon if you're interested, and while you're there you can also get a video shout out. So today we have Joshua Kingsley, Nico, and Zeshram. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.